2 model P70 here. Today I'm going to show everybody how to configure a PS2. Now this is not specific to the model 70. Everything I'm going to show you here today applies to anything from the model 50 and above. This is only for computers with microchannel bus. And PS2 computers are weird because some models are ISA and some models are microchannel. The lower numbered models, which would be your 25, 30, 35, let me think here, I think there was not the L40, the L40 is weird because that's a laptop. I think those were most of them. There's very few of them. Oh, in the 33. There's very few ISA versions, but typically everything with a model number of 50 and up is microchannel. Anything with a model number 50 and lower is ISA. So that being said, it's just going to get even more complicated from here. So every computer that was sold came with one of these. This is the original reference disk. This is basically the entire setup program for the computer. Later models, such as the 76, 77, 85, 95, and 90s, actually could put this on to a special partition on the hard drive, so you didn't have to have the disk. They called it a convenience partition. However, this model does not. So I actually just found this disk the other day, hiding in amongst my DOS 3.3 disks. So this is actually the original one that goes with this pretty exact machine. So we're going to put this in the floppy drive, and we're going to power up the computer. And you can hear all the glorious noises of the hard drive and everything else. Now, some of the newer model PS2 computers, you can actually bypass this memory test. This particular one you cannot. So, however much memory you have in here, you have to wait for it to count. So here's the start screen. Okay, so here's the main menu of the reference disk. We have 5 options here. So the first one, I'm going to go through and explain each of the options, and then we're actually going to go through and take a look. The first one is back up the reference disk. All you need, that just makes a copy of the basic reference disk. Whatever disk you have in the drive, no matter how it's configured, it's just going to make an exact copy of that. If you have an original reference disk and it still works like mine does, you should make a copy. I have 2 backups of this disk, so we're good. Number 2 is set configuration. The configuration has to do with any options or devices in the computer. That's going to be your hard drive, any microchannel cards you have added on, into onboard ports, etc. So we'll go in and I'll show you how all that works. Option 3 is set features. That's where you set your time, your date, stuff like that. And on the portables, the P70 and P75, there's also an option to set the dim time for the display. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what a gas plasma display is, which is what this is, it's the same as a plasma television, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard. The only difference is this is all orange, whereas a television is going to be in color. However, they're both very susceptible to screen burn. These actually burn faster than a CRT does. So there's an auto dim to shut the screen off so it doesn't get burned in. So it doesn't sit on the same screen. Just a screensaver it's built into the computer. Option 4 is copy and option disk. So anytime you get a microchannel card, it comes with a floppy disk. Now this applies to new. Nowadays, very few things actually come with a disk, but the discs are available. anytime you add a microchannel card, you have to tell the computer what it is. Now, there's a few cards that the computer already has what it needs to run the card. Like, for instance, I have what they call a dual async adapter. It's just a 2-port serial card. That card, it's an IBM card, so that card already has the appropriate file on the reference disk for that card. So that doesn't need an option disk. However, like if you buy, say, a network card or something like that, and I actually did order a network card. It's coming, and when I get it, I'm going to show you how to actually install the software for that. So all it does is it reads the software off of the disk that comes with the card and copies it onto the reference disk. So you only have to do that once. And then 5 is test the computer. That just goes through basic and slightly more advanced diagnostics if you're having an issue with the computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to set configuration. And now this computer is configured. So, but if you have to change the battery or something like that, you're going to have to do the set configuration. Now, if you change the battery, it can automatically configure the system. It'll just go through and it'll look and say, okay, well, this is what the computer's got. We're going to go with that. And that's what the automatic configuration is right here. So, if you need to just basically set it up from scratch, that's what you're going to do. So we're going to view our configuration. So right now, this tells you everything that's installed in the computer. Okay, at least that it can find. If you have a microchannel card that's not configured properly, it'll show up as unidentified. So right now, the first thing is memory. This computer has 8 megs of memory, which is a lot for a 386, by the way. This computer actually shipped with 4, which is actually a pretty obscene amount in 1989. So now the first part is built-in features. So we have 8 megabytes of memory. We have a 1.44 meg floppy drive on disk A. Diskette B is not installed. Math code processor is installed. The onboard serial port, the built-in serial port, is configured as serial 1 or COM1, and the built-on parallel port is configured as parallel 1 or LPT1. So now we go into the slots. So slot 1 is a dual async adapter. It's just a dual serial card is really all it is. Dual asynchronous communications card. So you can configure the serial ports, and PS2 computers can handle up to 8 serial ports and 3 parallel ports. So, and I apologize for my cat. So right now they're configured as serial ports 2 and 3, or COM 2 and 3. And then we see right here slot 2 is empty. So, and then slot 3, which if you watch my first video, you'll find that the hard drive is actually basically, it's called a DBA, a direct bus attachment drive. Basically, the drive controller is on the hard drive, and it just connects directly into the microchannel bus. So here you can set, there's options here for the integrated disk drive. So now this is just viewing, there's no options to change. So we're going to escape. And from here we can go to change configuration. And here's where you can actually change things. So here's where you can go. You can change the floppy drive if it's showing something weird. Very rarely does that need to be changed, but you can change it to not installed. Those are the only 2 options you have for drive A. And then drive B, you can put tape drive 360K 1.44 meg, which we don't have any of that. The serial port is just, oh my god. So as you see here, the serial port, you can configure it on up to COM2, and you'll notice that there's a little star here, and it says up here there's a conflict. That's one of the advantages of the MCA bus. It's all software configured, so it can detect conflicts before you even install the card. Unlike on an ISA bus, where you're at this time in life, you're configuring jumpers and whatnot, and if you put something on wrong, the computer may not have power on. So, but you can configure this, on serial 1 or 2, now this is just the onboard serial port, and the same thing with the parallel port. You can configure it on LPT 1, 2, or 3. So serial 1 and parallel 1 is perfect for the onboard. Now we have the dual async adapter, and the same thing. You can go in and you can configure this up to COM 8. This is very useful if you have a big PS2 with a bunch of modems in it. I used to run a BBS on a PS2 Model 80, and I had 4 internal modems, and I had them all set to COM 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, and thankfully I was using BBS software that would actually go over COM 4. So, you know, but you can figure these however you want, you know. So, I just have them at 2 and 3. I'm not even sure why I have these async card in right now. And then the hard drive, same thing. You can go in and you can change various options. The neat thing is if you don't know what an option is, just press F1. It tells you. It tells me bus arbitration fairness right here. It tells me exactly what this option I have highlighted is, and it actually tells you under normal what to do normally. So typically you don't have to change any of that unless you have a problem. So so we're going to leave without saving because we don't want to change anything. Backup configuration, we'll just back up the entire configuration to a floppy disk. Restore configuration, same thing. It'll just restore configuration from the floppy disk. You only use these if you have like really complex configurations you don't know, or if you're managing a whole bunch of machines. So very few people actually ever use these. So, and then run automatic configuration. All that does is that just searches the computer for anything it has, puts the default values in, and then resets the computer. So very cool actually. Set features. We'll go in here. Date and time, duh. Set passwords. You can actually go in, you can set a password for the computer so that it makes you enter a password before it'll even boot. And then you can also go in and set network server mode. If you're using your PS2 as a network server and you just want it to boot, but you want the keyboard and floppy drive to be disabled, you can go in and set network server mode. And then all you have to do is you have to type, it's, I think, Control Run, and then type the password in and it'll unlock the keyboard. And then it'll relock itself after so long if you're not using it. Pretty cool. Keyboard speed, that's just auto repeat speed. You can go normal or fast. Most people just leave it in normal. And then here's something that's exclusive to the portables. This is set auto dim time. Like I said, these are gas plasma displays. They burn in very easily. So you can set the auto dim time, which is basically just a screensaver, to anywhere from 1 to 120 minutes. I'd leave it on 10 minutes because I have a tendency just to walk away and forget, and it might sit here for like 2 or 3 hours without me doing something. So I set it for 10 minutes. I think that's a great time. So that's it. I'm not going to go into copy and option diskette because I don't have an option diskette to copy. But if you, like I said, if you install a microchannel card, you go into copy and option disk, and it will read the disk that came with the card or that you downloaded online. There's a file called an ADF, an adapter description file. It basically just copies that file right onto your reference disk, so that the computer can recognize the card that's installed. So there's something like 6,000 or 7,000 different cards, I believe, that you could possibly install. So there's no way you'd be able to fit all those on one reference disk. So most IBM cards are already included, but there are some that are not because they're not very common. So stuff like a token ring card is going to be on there. The dual async card is going to be on there, but most of the other, cards aren't. And test the computer is basically diagnostics. You can go in here. And this is not fast by any sense of the word, by the way. So this is all being loaded off of floppy disk, for crying out loud. So you'll see here what it does. It shows you the computer configuration. You got the system unit, 8 megs of memory, keyboard, parallel, 1 disk drive, math coprocessor, system board async port, 1 dual async adapter, 1 mouse port, 1 SD fist disk, which is, the computer actually, the hard drive is actually an SD drive, which is basically just a slightly more advanced version of MFM. It's a 16-bit version of MFM. So, not very fast, trust me. And then the plasma display adapter, which is basically just a VGA card that's modified for a plasma screen. And it says, it's asking you, is this list correct? And yeah, you just select yes. And then it'll just start going through and testing things. This takes a while, so I'm just going to fast forward through this. So here is the end of all the diagnostic tests. It's telling you just to remove the disk that's in your A drive, which should be a scratch disk. And it's telling you what to do, you know, if you find issues. It tells you look in your quick reference guide. So, and that's it, we're done. So after I tested the computer, now I did find a problem with the SD controller, which the hard drive is not in the greatest shape. It's working well, but it's not perfect. So now we're going to boot the computer off of the C drive. We're going to boot into DOS. This computer is running IBM DOS 7 revision 1, which is anybody's into DOS will know that that is actually IBM PC DOS 2000. It was the very last version of official DOS released for the IBM compatible computers. It came out in 1999 to fix bugs with Y2K compatibility. So probably not the best version of DOS to run on this computer, but it works well enough. It's a little slow. It's a little on the bloated side. Now the first thing you see pop up is this driver here. And this is for a backpack hard drive. I actually have a 406 meg backpack parallel port hard drive attached to this as well. I got it with the computer. It works beautiful. It's fast too, considering the hard drive inside the computer is slow. And there we go. So I have it set to automatically boot into DOS shell. So I'm not exactly sure why, but I do. And I do have a mouse installed here. So we're just going to exit out of the shell here and just go into a DOS prompt. And we go into, we type vir, and you'll see it's PC DOS version 7 revision 1. So, and something else is I also have Windows 3.1 installed. I have DOS running on the C drive, and then I have Windows and all the Windows applications running off the backpack hard drive. Because actually the backpack drive is faster than the internal drive, not to mention it's about 10 times larger. The internal hard drive is 60 megs, where the backpack is about 400 megs. So, if you listen real carefully, you can even hear some noises. The speaker inside this computer is very weak. As you can tell, I mean, it's a 386 computer. It runs like a 386 computer. Windows does not run the greatest on these. 386 is the lowest processor you can run Windows 3.1 on. Windows 3.0 will run on a 286. But Windows 3.1 has to have a 386. And we go into help, go about program manager. You can see that we are running Windows 3.1. It is running in 386 enhanced mode, so it's taking advantage of all the options that the 386 and the 387 processor can offer it. So, not that there's really a lot on Windows 3.1, but you know, you get what it is for the time. So, in order to keep this video on in a reasonable amount of time, I'm going to cut it here. We're going to exit Windows. And we're going to explore the computer more in depth in the next video. I do have the computer pretty much set up now, so we're going to explore what this computer can do and how well it does not do those things. So join me next time, and we're going to explore what the capabilities of the IBM PS2 P70 really is in the real world. So I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you know anybody that's into old IBM PCs, definitely send them my way. I know this is a mostly Mac-centric channel, but I'm passionate about many things, and the PS2 is one of those. So you're going to be seeing a lot more videos on the PS2, but I have not forgotten the Macs. I do still have Macs. I have several projects here I'm working on. So if you're here strictly for the Mac content, don't lose hope. There is more coming. So thank you and have a good day.